What if I told you the society you live in is extremely delicate? In fact, most of us could cause city-threatening disasters if we were crime committed enough. In this video, I'll share with you at least 3 ways in which your society could fail, with very little effort required, and possibly raise enough awareness about the topic, because most do not want to talk about this subject. We have a mentality called security through obscurity, basically stating that if we do not tell anybody how things work, then less people will know how to break them. This mentality is dumb and moves us into the direction of ignoring problems completely. Let's be honest, at the end of the day, if someone wants to do something bad, he will. And we ought to protect ourselves from problems rather than just hide them under the blanket. There's more politics involved in this, and we'll get to it later. After making this video, I listened to it again, and I want to just make sure, guys, I'm not recommending you do any of this. Not only this, I'm asking you and trying to tell you that it's legal first, and you should not do this. I'm trying to look funny and I'm trying to say funny stuff, but I know people take stuff way too seriously, so I have to specify. This is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Now let's get going. We have to rely on fragile infrastructure many times in our lives. When we go to school or send our kids there, when we go to the hospital or send our data to a doctor, when we are on life support, the first threat I want to address is cybersecurity. You may disagree or ignore it completely, but I'm afraid to tell you that if you live in Europe, most of your country's city districts don't even require two-factor authentication. That annoying little thing you need to just join a Discord server, for example. And they don't require this to access company network and files, which means your data, where you live, what you do, how much you make sometimes. Most hospitals do not have safe ways to send files, and most nurses will not use safe enough passwords for database access. This means you can social engineer enough information to probably access the clinical data of a lot of people in your local area. Some time ago, a cyber attack struck a local hospital in my area, and most of the patient's data was stolen and electricity ran out because it was cut. This means that tens of emergency workers had to try and save the lives of people who were paying for their safety. Their taxes, they paid their taxes to be safe and to be healed, and they had to be rescued from a hospital. A quick solution to the problem is to create an organization specialized in cybersecurity and threat management that can certify companies and how they manage risks to clients. The same way you would look on Trustpilot or you would look at reviews for a shady business, you would have to do before going to a hospital, before going to a school. And this would force businesses that want to proliferate and stay alive to ensure their clients are safe and their data is safe. Not only that, but in the world of cyber attacks and cybersecurity, every problem is evolving constantly, and you need someone to look at new threats and ways to neutralize them. Precisely what you'd hire experts for in any other situation. Data centers already do this, because their clients are rich enough to require safety and stability. More on this later. The second threat is much funnier. Exposed public infrastructure. I mean, plastic pipes exposed to the air that supply water to an entire neighborhood. Electrical switches with the keys left inside them. Ethernet ports without a proper cover. You have no idea how afraid I get whenever I enter a school and the first thing I see is a perfectly accessible, not surveilled panel with Ethernet connections. A bad actor can easily switch the school Wi-Fi for his own and have people send data to him rather than the school. Sometimes, when I'm hiking close to my house, I see exposed water pipes that anyone could just cut or drill and insert chemical into. You could literally just short the water supply to an entire neighborhood by just being a funny guy that wants to commit crimes. And with that like $10 equipment. The electricity switches for an entire block of homes right in front of the street will still beat most of these, because you don't even have to leave your car to commit a crime. How to solve this? For your own stuff, make sure anything that is exposed to the public is locked and possibly under surveillance. For pipes, switches, and other free-to-access, free-to-disrupt infrastructure like plastic water pipes, ask your local council to secure them. And I mean it. Go and send them an email, contact them, do something because you pay them to do something. Once again, to give you an example of a place where this is already done, infrastructures like data centers, where hedge funds with a lot of money keep their data, will require special access to even just see the rooms containing power outlets. Very quickly, I'll go over the last threat I wanted to talk about, which is natural disasters in general. We now know how to prevent or how to identify when a natural disaster is coming. Most places in Europe and in non-first world countries do not account for them. It's not a first priority to avoid earthquakes from killing people. It's not a first priority to avoid, to be fair, not even wars, but it's not a first priority to evade floods and other things which we now know how to go against. But sometimes we'd rather build for aesthetics and for what gets voted more rather than build for safety, because let's be honest, who right now would vote for a government who says that they're going to invest all their money into making sure nobody dies from a tsunami in 20 years? The reality is that we as a society currently ignore threats. We hope that by never talking about them, they will never happen, like pandemics. We hope we won't be the victims of them. By reflection, our politicians do the same, and we live in an extremely fragile bubble that can burst anytime to ruin your and many other lives. My hope is that by raising awareness of the problems that we face, some smart guy amongst you may decide to make it their goal to fix these problems. Now, should it be the government to do this in the first place? Maybe, but with you informed, even if you're not going to solve it firsthand, you can vote and encourage someone in the future to do it by requiring it in their political agenda to get your vote. Thank you a lot for listening, and once again, this was for educational purposes, and I hope none of this ever happens. But please be careful, be responsible, and have a good one. Thank you a lot.